Good morning and afternoon, depending on where you are in this lovely country today. Uh, I'd like to welcome you all to today's session on supporting your separated employees via NextJob. My name is Gary Casey with 501c Services. Um, 501c Services, which many of you may know, provides full service unemployment management programs and other services to more than 3,000 nonprofits across the country. Our programs include 501c Agencies Trust, which offers unemployment outsourcing for reimbursing employers. Uh, 501c also offers full service HR services, confidential consultation service available to help walk nonprofit organizations through difficult personnel issues. Everyone on today's webcast is already working with us as a customer via whether it's the 501c Trust or one of our other ancillary programs. And I thank you all very much for doing so. Today, we are going to be discussing one of your member benefits, the reemployment services. Through a contract with the organization NextJob, the 501c Agencies Trust provides your separated employees with job search benefits to help them find new employment opportunities quicker than without access to such service. Now, really quick, let me get through some housekeeping before we get to the nuts and bolts of the presentation with our guest speaker, Paul. First of all, you can download a copy of this slide deck from the Zoom browser, so you will have the access to that down the line if you need to go back to any of these slides or anything like that. And also importantly, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the Q&A section, and either myself or Paul will certainly do our best to address that question for you, either as the call goes on or at the end. If you have any questions about today's program or the NextJob service, feel free to contact myself afterwards, and I'll get you any information that you may have missed. Also, if you have any issues with today's Uber Eats vouchers, feel free to reply to the email that came from Max Smith regarding those vouchers, and he'll get you squared away. Now that we've got that figured out and where to drop your questions and so forth, I'm excited to introduce today's speaker, Paul Zurek. Paul leads the sales for outplacement and employee relations at NextJob, where he helps organizations support their employees during career transitions, which can of course be a troubling time for individuals. He has a real passion for making sure employers and their job seekers have the tools they need to navigate the ever-changing job market. Paul brings a lot of experience in workforce development, unemployment services, and career coaching, and he's worked closely with nonprofits and businesses across the country in these aspects throughout his career. He's based on the East Coast in Mystic, Connecticut, right there on the water, but works, of course, with organizations nationwide. We're lucky to have him here with us today to share his insights. And please join me in welcoming Paul and all the wealth of knowledge he's going to bestow upon yourself.
I hope so anyway.
You will.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody. These webinar formats are a little bit different than the traditional Zoom, as you're probably aware. And if you do have questions, you can chat them into Gary. And some of the stuff we'll address right away if it makes sense, and other things if it's something, housekeeping or something we can talk about at the end, if it's specific to your organization. But if it's something that's pertinent to that time, we'll talk about it right then. I don't like to just have this set up so that I'm talking at you the whole time, unless there's something that we're focusing on. But we try to be as conversational as possible, because this is something that is moving and changing, and everybody's having different experiences, especially with a company like ours where we're nationwide. we really do try to be sensitive and realistic, knowing that there's a lot of things that change with each region, within each state, within each, throughout the entire country. And NextJob, we've been partnered with 501c for a long time, like 10 years or more. And it's been a long time, and it's been very helpful for us to be able to provide support to your employees. So with that, what we like to do on all of our conversations is we always like to talk through climate and landscape and what's going on out there in the world right now. Because the reality is it's a strange time. And since the start of COVID, it's been a strange time. So over the course of the last 2 years, we have seen changes in the job markets. And the reason this matters is because your employees have certain expectations, your new hires have certain expectations, and the candidates for open positions have expectations. And then on the other side of that, when people are leaving, there kind of aren't expectations. People kind of think that that type of thing is never going to happen to me. And when it does, we want them and we want you to feel prepared so that they're not just going out there into the woods by themselves. We're looking at just this. So economic Department of Labor data is traditionally incredibly slow to be posted. In fact, we're waiting for some new numbers to come up this morning, but we're still for February, because we're trailing basically about a month and a half right now, but we have all the data for January. And looking back and what's happening, and as we move forward, you'll see some of the other ones that are a little bit more even just up to date, like this last week. We know that there's some uncertainty. Unemployment is back up to 4.1%, and a year ago it was at about 3.5%. This isn't troubling in the sort of the grander scale, but over the course of the last year, we have gone up half a point, which ends up being a lot in some ways because of how low unemployment is. Traditionally, the think tank that we're associated with was considered 5% to be full employment. Well, now we've been under 5%, and in some cases under 4% for well over a year. And so things have changed. And we're just trying to be sensitive to the fact that there are some leading indicators and trailing indicators that we're watching to see what maybe is going to change. And one of the things that we're looking at is the average amount of weeks that people are unemployed. And again, this graph on the right is squeezed in quite a bit, but we've kind of been fluctuating. 2 years ago now, people were getting, like, they'd apply for that job or they'd be terminated and they'd be back, they'd apply for a new job and be back to work in under 20 weeks. Then it was up to 24, and it kind of fluctuates back and forth a little bit. Right now we're in the 21, 22, 23 range again, and it kind of seems to be going up and down, and we try to draw a line right through the middle of that. That number we think is trending back up again, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. So people are having a little bit slower back to work. Now, this is one of the other indicators that we look at. So we look at how many jobs are available per job seeker. And this is important because if there are too many jobs available per job seeker, so 10 years ago, there were 15 years ago, even during the financial crisis, there were 0.5, and in some cases lower, but 0.5 jobs available per job seeker. And in 2022, we hit our peak at almost 2.5 jobs per job seeker. And the problem is when that number is too high, people say, well, the jobs are out there, I don't necessarily need to hurry back in. If that's too low, then unemployment goes up because we know there aren't enough jobs for people. If that number is too high, businesses have a hard time staying in business. And if it's too low, people panic and recessions and things like that can begin. So that's just some of the numbers that we look at. And it's important from a nonprofit standpoint, from any type of an organization standpoint, because you know that you're going to have to be more competitive in terms of catching their eye, or what you're going to offer and what you can do to support your employees as you sort of develop your employee brand and what you're doing for your employees. Now, we say before the pandemic, five years and 2 months ago, we were just about one. One is a great number, and we like to sort of live there so that there's one job for every person who's looking for a job. it may not always be the right types of jobs, but that's where some of these realignments come, where retrainings come. Somebody knows that they need to shift from auto repair to factory work, or if they're working in a place like yours in a nonprofit, they might need to shift from just into a different functional area. So it's something that can help figure out what makes sense. And especially as we add AI and people are starting to worry, is my job going to become redundant? It may, but then we're going to need people who are going to help do analysis or whatever it is that comes along with the new AI tools that everybody's starting to see. So we are, again, seeing that we do have a lot of jobs, but the duration of unemployment continues to sort of linger, and that number is high. It's been high because people are saying, well, there are a lot of jobs out there. It sort of remains to be seen what the plan is with that, but this is really, we've seen a little bit of an inverse with that number as we go. Now, this is specific to some of the labor work that we do, so that it's not always going to be the same exact numbers, because the Department of Labor reports these in different ways. But at the start of the pandemic, you can see, which is right here, we had a tanking of both. Everything went down. The amount of jobs that were available went down, but then also the duration went down. And the reason for that was because it spiked right up afterwards, because then people realized, oh my gosh, we need everybody. So all of a sudden that duration went up, it went down. And it's an interesting situation when we have more jobs than there are people to fill those jobs. And you can see we've kind of gone back and forth over the course of the last few years. But again, something that we do try to really focus on, and where this green line goes to, that is the start of the pandemic, or sort of the shutdown of everything. And at that time, we were prepared at NextJob to be just as busy as we thought we were going to be, which was very busy, and we were for about 2 weeks. And then that stopped all of a sudden, and this V shape occurred where it just shot right up. So we have all these jobs available now, healthcare, even just support people, and people to drive for remote companies that were remote, and UPS, and so that people could live their lives when things changed. Getting people back to work requires more than just open jobs. We don't just want there to be open jobs. We want people to be prepared for them, and we want them to be the fit for those individuals, whether it's their career goals, their salaries, things like that. So what do we need to do to sort of fill those gaps that when they occur? And we tend to nerd out on a lot of this data at NextJob in a way that I never thought I would have in previous lives when I was working with organizations. But it's fun because we get to see we get to help a lot of people, but we see a lot of successes and a lot of stories that are fun for us to help sort of shape what these pictures look like. Now, I live in a relatively high benefit cost state, 2 states, well, 1.5 states north of me, depending on if I go through Rhode Island or if I just go straight from Connecticut. Massachusetts is an incredibly high benefit state. New Jersey, Washington, Michigan, all very high benefit states. And the claims in those states, you probably know, can be incredibly expensive, and in some cases up to $10,000 per claim on average. And that's a lot of money. And on the left, you can see over the course of time, it goes up on this graph. We are seeing increase in those weekly benefit amounts, but then also the duration has increased. So the cost of those claims is going up. As administrators, HR, team members at nonprofits, it's in your best interest to quickly get those people back to work if you have events, because it's a direct reimbursement rate. You're not having to get socialized out like a traditional organization, a company does. You're getting you get immediate relief for that cost in your tax bill when you're filing for unemployment, as you may know. But that's actually probably a whole webinar that we won't talk through the details of today. But the short version is, it's in your benefit to get your employees back to work very quickly. because the cost of that unemployment claim can be incredibly high, especially if you start having multiple groups or groups of large RIFs. And in some cases, we have nonprofits that we work with that have a 40% RIF, but it might only be 10 or 20 people. They can handle it. But if it's a 20% RIF with an organization with 300 or 400 people, that adds up really quick. And not everybody's prepared for that. So with that, we like to talk a little bit about what is protestable claim and what is non-protestable. And in most cases, 60% of the claims are non-protestable. So it's the quits, the discharges, the disqualifications. Somebody is not supposed to be there. It's not working out, or they choose to do that themselves. 40% of the time is this little piece. And for some reason, I got flipped all around. My graph got flipped around, but I'll blame it on AI. The layoffs, the temporary projects, poor fit, cost of doing business, things like that. Those are the ones that you're going to have to pay for, and they can add up incredibly quickly. So this is the service that 501 pays for on your behalf. And there is an allocation for each organization to use our service, so that it won't cost you anything to get up to that allocation, any of these employees back to work very quickly. So what does NextJob do? And I give you all that background because I want to show that we're keeping an eye on what's happening out there in the world, and we're keeping an eye on what the best practices are and what's coming, and we're prepared for it. So NextJob is an outplacement or a reemployment, depending on who you talk to and what part of the job search people or the job search organizations are in terms of releasing employees, but we'll use those interchangeably today. We have 3 components to our program for that reemployment. The number one piece is our online platform. This is available to all of your employees. So this is something that if you have a big event, we can get your people back to work very quickly with our online platform, teamed with our online workshops. And we're going to talk about those in a few minutes, a little bit more detail, but it's for sometimes people do well with the platform itself, but we try to be multimodal so we can make sure that there's something here for everybody, and we're not just forcing everybody to read and watch videos and do all these different pieces with the multimedia piece. We want to be multimodal as well. And then the third piece is our award-winning one-on-one proactive job coaches. And we're going to talk about all 3 of those components a little bit more. And as I'm going through, really, if you do have questions, or if you want to talk about something, or you need further clarification, definitely let me know. So I'll just take a quick sip here. We have been incredibly busy over the course of the last 3 or 4 months, and our days are a lot of talking, which is great because I'm glad we're helping people. But at the same time, I get hoarse during sort of as the middle of the day approaches, and if I keep my tea hot, I do all right. So our online job search system, which we call NJT, is available on computer as it has been for a long time, but we just recently had a complete system update, made the interface much more modern, much cleaner, and it's now optimized also for mobile browser, which makes it a heck of a lot easier to use. It was good before, but now it's great to use on a phone. And we've played with it thoroughly just to get a good sense of how it works. And I've been working with NextJob for a long time, more than 8 years, and I have a deep understanding of our system and how it works. And every time I log in on my phone or on my computer, I learn something new. And this is an individualized setup. So it's not personalized, but it's individualized. So each person gets, has a sort of with their coach, they can figure out what they need to focus on and where they need to go so that they can get back to work quickly. There's about 10 different modules and 8 chapters or so in each module. There's something in there for everyone, but not everything is for everybody. Some people need to learn all of it. We've had people who come to us that had handwritten resumes. They've had a job for 30 years. They didn't even know that you could, like, faxing a resume wasn't necessarily a thing, although job coaches may say different these days. So that we have this sort of a quick syllabus of what's included, what you need to do. And in most situations, the coach can direct the individuals to where they need to go, or the webinar coaches can help get there as well. And then each section of the modules in each chapter has step 1, step 2, step 3, and it uses the teach, show, do methodology. So it's first, this is how you do it. This is a way that you could, so like, this is how we do it. This is how you could do it. And now let's have you work on it. Let's figure this out. And it's totally interactive. One of the tools that we have is a resume builder that you go through and you learn about the value of a resume. Again, not everybody needs to know this, but some do. Then the components of a resume, what you can do to build your resume. And then we actually have a resume wizard that's built in. You put your name, you put your information, and all of your experience, and it actually helps you build a resume that you can see a little picture of here on the bottom. And it really works very, very well. It's a solid piece of software that we're incredibly proud of. And for people who are struggling with their resumes, it's very helpful. And then they can also take that resume with them to their coach, and they can say, what do I need to do to make this even better? Or if I need to, what do I need to do so that I can have it ready for our meeting with whatever company it is. So that's something that we're always excited about, the resume builder, because it is a neat tool that it's easy to use, and it helps people, sort of catapults them right into their job search. Then the last piece is our recorded mock interview tool the last piece I want to talk about here quickly. This is a new feature where you've got an interviewer on the top who's right here, and he asks, in some cases, really tough questions like, tell me about yourself. The answer is not, oh, I went to high school and then went right to work or went to college. That's not the answer. Tell me about yourself. What is it? It gives you tips on the right, how to answer that question. And then you record yourself answering that question, and then you can go back and watch it again. The employee the job seeker can watch it again, or more importantly, they can watch it with their coach and figure out, what did I do and what do I need to do so that I'm an even stronger candidate. So those are some of the tools that we're always incredibly proud to share, because they're very neat, and it's items that can have an immediate impact. Even if you're not working with a coach, it can help somebody get in there really quickly. Gary.
Yeah, Paul, we have a question asking if the former employees will have daily check-ins with the coach.
So it's generally not daily. It certainly could be if somebody is in, if it's something's coming up that they need to have daily check-ins. The packages that are set up with 501c services, they are 3-month packages. And over the course of that time, the job seeker and the coach will create a schedule that works for both of them. And then that way, there's never a time where there's, what am I supposed to be doing next? There's always a way to a way forward. And an important thing that I should have mentioned, I'll mention too, is we really meet job seekers where they are. Sometimes we have people who come to us, they've been there a long time. They may speak English, they may speak another language. Spanish is common. We see a lot of French. We have other languages that we work with as well with our coaches. And sometimes people aren't ready to talk about job search yet. I need to talk about what, even they're not counselors, but this feeling I have, or something that is around it, because there are a lot of emotions with this. So we meet those job seekers where they are. Sometimes we have people who are ready to pick up the phone and start smiling and dialing for those jobs. And if that's the case, that's great. The coach will be right there with them. And if they need to check in more often, they can. But that's the key for us, as we meet job seekers where they are. Gary.
Yeah, just one more thing that I think I can answer. Someone's asking, what are the associated costs? And basically the answer to that would be, for the online assistance, no cost at all, and unlimited usage there. Like Paul mentioned, you can have a huge reduction in force, and everyone can gain access to the online um, job search assistance and so forth. But moreover, with regard to the one-on-one personalized job coaching, each member of the trust, which of course you all are on the call, is allotted up to 20 one-on-one job coaching packages per year, free of charge. If you'd like to exceed that 20 for whatever reason, you can work with me on that, and there is an associated cost with that. Should you wish to exceed the 20, and that cost would be $800 per package. But like I said, the first 20 are included with your membership and free of charge. So that should answer that question. And I do
In
have
theory,
one
that's the
other.
3-month package, right?
Go ahead, Paul. What was that?
That's the 3-month package?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So there's 20 of the 3-month package.
Uh-huh. And another note here from someone saying they employ many college students. This could be a great benefit for them as they prepare to graduate and move on in their careers. That's more so a comment than a question I just wanted to share.
Yeah, yeah, and it totally is. We have a couple of places that we have seen work with a lot of college students. Sometimes family members will say, I don't know what I'm going to do with this kid, and I use this great tool called NextJob somewhere else, and they'll, like, grandparents, aunts, uncles, parents will buy the package for their kids directly. But we're seeing it more with we actually have in a few different states, we work with their career centers. We're not in competition with their career center. We work with the career center hand in hand to make sure we're helping get those those students into jobs quickly. And then another place that we have recently found that there's a lot of drive, I think, for people to find jobs is wealth management firms, where they have that somebody will have kids that they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my kid, they're not, and so or even my spouse or whatever, or I'm ready to go back to work, and the wealth management firm actually pays for it. Gary, another question?
Yeah, just on the mobile version, is it in an app store? And if so,
It's not. No, it's we have it set up. Yeah, just right here. We have it set up so that you just go through the web browser. It feels like an app, but we decided not to make it an app itself because it just ends up being too clunky in the updates. And this way it works on every phone. And my oldest has a terrible, awful phone by design. We don't want her to have a phone that she can do too much on, and it works. So it's a very user-friendly service that works with every device that's out there for the most part. Okay. So this is the NextJob training, or NJT as we call it. Then the next piece is our weekly web workshops. This goes through a series of 10 different webinars that are hosted by 2 of our coaches that are experts in that field. It can be social media, creating a resume, thinking how a hiring manager might look when somebody is looking. But it's a great service because in a classroom situation, there may be something new that's happened that people are asking questions that aren't necessarily going to come through in the software, or it's a question that you didn't realize you had. So it's very helpful to hear these other questions that others are asking. And there was a question asked about 6 months ago, what about AI? And we now have an AI webinar that's part of this. And we just added that to our list, and we cycle through, and we have 4 to 6 per week, but we record absolutely every single one of these. And then we archive it. So then your employees will have access to those webinars, whether they're able to attend live or they want to take a look at it later. If there is a need for this, or if there's if you had an event, for example, we can always schedule something if you needed a specific webinar for a group. If you have an employee group who's leaving, like you're getting rid of something that AI is replacing, for example, we can always schedule a specific webinar or a specific orientation if needed to help those employees, because it might be something that needs to be tailored a little bit to you. So please do reach out if there's something like that comes up. But this is here as a classroom tool, 100% remote, and it's really great. And I've had family members, friends attend this who are looking for jobs, and a lot of times it just kind of hits a light, turns on a light bulb for certain areas. Now, the last piece that it's simply what makes NextJob so fantastic, aside from our ability to support job seekers, is our coaches. And our coaches are award-winning. They are real people who are there, who are proactive in actually calling and scheduling time and helping your employees get back to work quickly in a way that works for them. And they are the ones who are meeting your employees where they are. We have an organization we're working with right now. They have the termination date of actually not until the beginning of July, and it's a big group, but they've offered different types of packages, and they actually had the job seekers start working with coaches now so that they can, as soon as their employment ends and they have for their, however the severance is structured, they have to work with the organization all the way through the end. But what we do is we can help them start looking for a job, because there's this sort of mantra in the job seeker world that the best time to find a job is when you already have a job. And so those coaches are able to help if you already have a job, but also, and more importantly, they can help individuals who are looking for jobs. And in some cases, this is people who have been unemployed for a very long time. We work with Freddie Mac, and in some cases, people have not been paying their mortgage for a couple of years, and now they are looking for help, and the banks connect those individuals with our coaches, with us, and to our coaches, and they help them get back to work, even if there's a significant gap. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, another quick one. Someone's wondering if it's possible to go through the process themselves to experience it, to better enable to support. My hunch would be, of course, the online setup, as mentioned, that infrastructure is there, and I could set anybody up with that, regardless of whether, you're out of work or not. But I thought I'd mention it, Paul, because regarding the one-on-one job coaching assistance, I would assume that's kind of no, because that's manpower and things of that nature. But
So that's a great question. And usually we don't talk about, in these types of discussions, we don't talk about this part of the service with these types of groups, because it's not something that's needed. We do also have a career development program where, and I'll talk about that more at the end, just a little bit to bring you up to speed on that. But when things were, we were sort of still on that growth mode in the late teens, one of our biggest partners that we worked with for some other projects was Nike. And Nike was in growth, where they had like 10% of their jobs were open, and they couldn't fill seats. And they said, well, this is great that, all this unemployment work that you do at NextJob, but can you help us develop our employees? And because that each person who's manager or above, if you're not an individual contributor at Nike, the expectation is that you are spending 50% of your time, 50% of your time, improving your team. And so we worked with Nike to create this really great career. We called it career literacy with Nike at the time, but we spent 18 months working with them on their campus, developing this coaching program to help take people from being great employees to superstars. And it was hugely successful. So a lot of times what we can do is we can set it up so that rather than going through this part of the coaching where you're searching for a job, you're going through what we call growth coaching, so that you can move up sort of to the next level, be a better communicator, be a better negotiator, whatever it is, so that you're a stronger employee. It's the same coaches that do a lot of the same similar stuff. But if you're interested in that, well, I can show a couple things on that in a few minutes at the end of the presentation, but it is definitely possible, and we can get the software out to everyone. But at the same time, our webinars are a good indication of who they're working with. These are real, honest coaches, like real people who are there to support your employees. And in some cases, they are even regional. So some people may be able to speak the same language, and I mean that metaphorically, where they're figuratively, I should say. They're, if I'm talking about a part of Connecticut I'm in, and I'm talking about, people going back and forth between here and Westerly or whatever it is, they know that they're like moving across the border into Rhode Island, which is very common here, or people coming from there to here. And it can be very, depending on who it is and the type of industry they're in. We have coaches who are within a short drive of 47 states. I don't think we have anybody in Alaska right now. So that would be, but for the most part, we've got a good sense of what's going on, and we have coaches all over the country and in just about every single industry. and for individual contributors all the way up to executives. So we are here to support your employees, and it's been a really neat place to be. So before I move on from that, if anybody does have questions, again, please feel free to just chime in. I'm happy to talk about that. So the last piece is here. This is a service that 501 pays for you. So that we're looking at there being about a $1,500 reduction in your individual UI bills, which is important, especially when you're a reimbursing employer like you all, I think most of you are, and a reduction in that time by about 4.3%. And now this is on the average. This is, I should say two things. This is a very conservative number, and it's also on the average. Day to day, I'm seeing this 4.3 weeks more like 6 or 7 weeks. We target 25-30%. The reality is it's more like 40%, and this reduction in charges as a result also increases. So you're saving a lot of money for those claims as you get people back to work quickly. Now, the technical part of how this works, and you would work with Gary. We sort of all work together, the three of us, you, Gary, and me, and we work to make sure that we have people getting back to work quickly. Now, I say I want to give you a full picture of what we offer. The question was asked earlier, that 20 packages for the 3-month is available. If you decide that you have an executive, CFO, somebody like that who's no longer going to be with your organization, they might need a 6-month package or a 12-month package. We have all that spelled out very clearly. And just talk with me and Gary, and we'll help you figure out what the next steps are, because that is not included. But in some cases, that does come up, and we just like to make sure that you have everything that you need. So then we have a referral form you fill out. It's a spreadsheet. It's very easy to use. If a secure portal is needed for some reason, you have a banking relationship, or there's something else that it needs to go through a secure site, we also have a portal set up for that. But the vast majority of organizations can just use a referral sheet, which I'll show you in a second. Gary, something quick?
Yeah, not a question. I just wanted to clarify something I had mentioned earlier, and I think I misspoke with regards to the one-on-one coaching. When someone gains that access and starts utilizing that service, we actually do have that for 26 weeks. So for 6 months to work with that coach. I think I said 3 months earlier, but we
Okay.
actually give the 6 months. So I just wanted to clarify that.
That's great. Okay, so that's right. And if there's something else that if you need a different style package, we can talk about that. And my next page is probably going to be a little off from that, because we were talking through this a lot. But in any case, so then that sheet will come, that referral sheet will come to us, and then we send to you personalized letters that has the individual's name on it, has their access code, and has your company's letterhead on it, so that you can say, this is a letter from us, tells you how to use NextJob, this is a free packet or free service, and then we begin our engagement process. And we do have these different packages based on what you need, and we have different unemployment reduction goals for them. This 3-month package is now 30%, and the 6 and 12-month is closer to 35%, because we are getting the style of employee back to work very quickly in different ways. So do reach out if you have questions about that. But I don't want to get too technical, because I know we want to do a high level overview so you can see what services are offered, but then also you know how to use it if it did come up. So this is our referral form. If you were going to use us, we can do a specific orientation to your organization, but the short version is there's the who is authorizing it. That's probably going to be your name, which package it's going to be, which would be the depending on what you choose. I mean, it's probably going to be the one that 501c services pays for. Individual's first name, last name, email address, which is very helpful. Job title, again, helpful for us, because we can start figuring out where they're going to go next. but then phone number is so important, whether it's home, mobile, whatever it is. And then address and that type of thing. Those are all really helpful. And then moving forward to the other side of this, which we would cover in the orientation itself, but if something came up and you need to do this afternoon, the do not contact before date is really important for us, because sometimes, and we always triple check this, sometimes we'll have employers who put in there the today's date. And what's tricky about that is sometimes we've called people who haven't been notified yet, so they didn't even know that this was coming. So we try to make sure that the do not contact date is in the future, and it's after the separation date. So the individuals know that the date of notification is after, or the date of contact from us is after the notification date. Otherwise, it gets to be a really uncomfortable conversation. And we always double, triple, quadruple check that to make sure that we're not informing your employees before you have a chance to talk with them. Then we give you everything you need. So this personalized letter that would have your company's information on it, and then has their personalized data, or I should say their name and their access code to NextJob, where they can go if they have questions, that how they can get in touch with us. But then it's signed by your organization's name. And then a job seeker packet that tells them what's included with NextJob. So the coaching, the webinars, the software, and all the different pieces of it. We try to make it as simple as possible so that you're not just giving them endless pieces of paper. So we can also customize what is coming to you for your employees, or you can choose from that packet what makes the most sense. This is set up to be both printed out if needed, or sent to them digitally if you're a remote team, or if teams have been informed remotely. And then the engagement process, you send that order to us, or so you can email it into us, or we do have that secure portal like I was talking about. We send you all of the details so that you can give those to your employees, and then we start our engagement process. They can log in on their own, they can call us on their own, or we will send them three emails and 3 outreach calls to say, your organization gave us your information, we're here to support you, this is what NextJob does, walks them through the process, the individual signs up, we get them started, then we match a coach based on personality, occupation, industry, expertise, that type of thing, and we do that within a couple of days. And then we get them started, they work with their coach, and then coming back to you is a huge report that gives you all the information about how much money you saved, all the different the great things that you're learning about your employees, how much how quickly they got back to work, engagement date, progress, that type of thing. Gary.
Yeah, the question that I think some people may be wondering as well. You did mention the do not contact date is very important. Someone's mentioning that, and I remember working with this person in this organization. They invite their employee to start the package and start working with the job coach prior to their separation date. So the do not contact date would in theory be before their separation date. And they're wondering if that's okay. And of course the answer is yes.
Yes.
That column is very important. The main part of that is you want that date to be on or after the date that individual or those individuals that are going to be separated do know about it. And if you as the employer are fine with, let's say the official separation is going to be a month from now, but you're going to tell them about it today, you're fine with them starting to work with the program tomorrow, for example, completely fine to do it that way. I just wanted to reiterate kind of what they were asking slash saying for the group, if anyone else was kind of wondering that.
Right. And the separation date should probably be notification date. We just want to make sure we're not the ones who are informing your employees that they're going to be they're moving on. So it is very helpful. It is very helpful. And I see we do have a couple more questions, and we'll cover those in just a minute. Okay, so we looked at that page. We talked about the once the coach match is made, they work through the everything that NextJob does, and then we send that reporting to you. That comes to you usually monthly, but it's giving you your savings and the engagement date and what everything looks like with all of your employees, just so that you can see that things are coming together. Before I move on, I want to, and these are just some extra slides that I always have. No, I don't have, but the career development piece here, if you do have an employee who you think you want to help them grow, I mean, we initially had talked about this as being a retention tool, especially early during what we were calling the Great Resignation, where everybody seemed to be quitting their jobs. This was a tool that we did put out there, but it's not something that we look at. We look at that thoroughly. So I just wanted to mention that that is out there. And if you have questions, we'd love to talk to you more about that. Okay, we got lots of questions, I see.
All righty, here's one. Someone's wondering if the reduction in force employee, is it for reduction in force employees, or can we use it for someone who is just not a good fit? And the answer to that would be anyone, as I mentioned, can be granted the online assistance. We do limit the one-on-one coaching packages to individuals that meet certain criteria, and that criteria being if they're a long-term employee, in a sense, having worked for your organization for at least a year, if they're full-time, having worked at least 30 hours a week or more. Also, if the separation, is intended to be permanent, you're not intending on bringing them back in a couple months or something along that nature. And finally, if if there was no misconduct involved in the separation, in theory, they're out of work through no fault of their own. And if you piece all those together, what we're trying to do is help individuals that in theory could be a full unemployment claim for you, the employer. So we want it to be a win-win. You can save money on that unemployment claim, and that individual can get back to work. But yeah, so if you you just bring someone in, and let's say they've worked for you for 3 months and you realize that's not a good fit, we can still set them up with the online assistance. I think that takes care of that question. And I have one more here. Does NextJob notify the employer once the former employee finds a job? And the answer to that is we here at 501 do get a monthly report back from NextJob showing how many folks are engaged with the one-on-one assistance and so forth, and also any known hires. So at any time, any of you organizations out there that have worked with me and got some packages going for your employees, you can always reach out to me and see if whom has gained employment, and I'll be able to look up and say, yeah, so and so, it looks like they gained employment after 8 weeks or after 10 weeks, or they're still working with a job coach or what have you. So I can answer those questions down the line with regards to individuals finding work.
And generally, so maybe 25% of the time, it seems like we hear back from people that they did find a new job. A lot of times, the coach will think that somebody found a job because they just stopped showing up they stopped scheduling meetings, and it's because now they're busy and they're back to work, and it's 7 weeks into a much longer package. If somebody disappears, usually it's because like they had all the things that lead up to it, an interview and a phone screen, an interview and an offer, whatever it is, and then that person just disappears. So we only report if we have confirmed job, and you would, yes, that reporting would come back to you so that you know. And then I see a question here. So for separation, I mean, that's a question with like college graduation. That's a piece to talk with Gary about. There are those components that need to be met for that to happen. And then if on the follow-up question to that, if you want to start using NextJob, you'll schedule time with Gary or email with Gary, and we'll get you set up in our system, and we'll get you rolling.
Yep.
It's a very simple process. It's just a couple of emails. There's no contract unless there's something separate we need to do. if sometimes we have people that have special service that's needed, or you need something like we have in-person support if needed for a much larger organization, we can provide that support if needed.
And we have someone wondering what my email address is, so I'll throw that out there for anyone that wishes to jot it down. That's gcasey, so GCASEY at 501c.com. And anyone can reach out to me, and I'll get that application back to you, fill it out, get it to me at your leisure, and you'll be off and running.
And I just posted my email address too. Usually my last slide here is different right now because we were doing an orientation earlier. But if you have questions or need something directly from me, my email address is pauld@nextjob.com. It's just nextjob.com. It's my first name, Paul, and my last name, just the first initial D, Paul D. All right, so we've got a few extra minutes. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to talk. If you want 8 minutes back in your day, you can take your 8 minutes back in your day. I really appreciate everybody coming. This is a tricky topic, and it's something that we specialize in. We're here doing this every single day, and every single day I wake up and I see our reports and I say, I'm so happy we're here to support these people, because without us, I think we would have a lot of people who are still looking for work, and it really does mean a lot to us to support job seekers.
I concur, and I'm grateful for you for putting on this presentation and getting all that information out there to our membership.
Thanks for coming, everybody. And again, I'm here if you have questions, but otherwise have a great day. And please don't be a stranger if you have questions. We're happy to talk to you.